What if I told you the government of Jamaica just got exposed for illegally using emergency powers for years and nobody was supposed to find out? By the end of this video, you'll understand why the court said nope to Holness SEOs, what this means for your rights, and the juicy political fallout between Mark Golding and the Holness administration. Unconstitutional. The Jamaican Constitutional Court has just delivered a major blow to the Andrew Holness administration, ruling that 15 states of emergency SEOs between 2018 and 2023 were illegal and violated the fundamental rights and freedoms of Jamaicans. In this video, political expert analyst Patriotic Jamaican breaks down why the SEOs were ruled unconstitutional, the legal showdown between PNP President Mark Golding versus the Holness Government, what this means for Jamaica's democracy and national security, the political fallout, and what could happen next. Don't forget to subscribe for more Jamaican political drama, controversy, and expert analysis. So let me get this straight. For the last 5 years, the Jamaican government was illegally suspending your rights under the excuse of fighting crime, and they just got dragged in front of the court for it. This isn't a political thriller on Netflix. This is real life. Today, we're diving into how the Constitutional Court just slapped the Holness administration for abusing emergency powers like they were on sale at Megamart. Do you think Andrew Holness knowingly violated the Constitution? Let's talk the truth in the comments. So what exactly is a state of public emergency, or SEO? Well, in simple terms, it's a powerful tool written into the Jamaican Constitution, designed for true emergencies like a national crisis or civil war. Not a repeat, not for everyday police work. But between 2018 and 2023, the Holness administration declared SEOs not once, not twice, but 15 times, blanketing entire parishes under military lockdowns. Because nothing screams routine policing like soldiers patrolling Spanish Town like it's Baghdad. Now here's the kicker. The PNP said this was unconstitutional from day one. And guess what? The court just agreed. Who do you trust more to protect your rights? Holness or Golding? Sound off in the comments. In a stinging rebuke, the court ruled that these SEOs were not justified, not necessary, and were, wait for it, void and unconstitutional. Yup, void, like a bad check. Mark Golding, president of the PNP, popped off with a statement that basically said, told you so, and rightly so, because the court ruled these emergency proclamations, especially the ones in late 2022, bypassed parliament, undermined democracy, and violated the Jamaican people's fundamental rights. Who needs parliament when you can just roll out the tanks and call it Tuesday? And shout out to Dr. Dane Campbell, PNP's General Secretary, who actually filed the case. That man saw a constitutional train wreck in slow motion and said, yeah, let's fix that. SEOs were rolled out like party flyers, one after the other, often renewed, rarely challenged. But here's where it gets even juicier. The court said that the Governor General's rolling proclamations violated the separation of powers, meaning the government used the Governor General to sidestep Parliament like a kid sneaking cookies before dinner. If the SEOs were unconstitutional, should someone be held accountable? So what now? Well, first, this is a huge win for the Constitution, the rule of law, and wait for it, actual democracy. Golding said, this win belongs to every Jamaican who values justice and constitutional order. And he's not wrong, because if the government can suspend your rights whenever crime spikes, then do you really have rights? Or are you just renting them until the next emergency? The truth is, Jamaica's long-term crime solution isn't SEOs. It's not soldiers on corners. It's proper policing, community-led interventions. And here's a wild idea: respecting the Constitution. But wait, what happens to all the arrests made under these SEOs? What if someone sues the government? And will the Holness administration try this again under a new name? Excellent question. Was Jamaica secretly under dictatorship level powers for 5 years? Let that sink in. Then reply with your thoughts in the comments. Here's a summary of the highlights and the key points. The Constitutional Court ruled 15 SEOs from 2018 to 2023 were unconstitutional. The Holness Government bypassed Parliament, violated separation of powers. The court sided with Mark Golding and the PNP, calling the SEOs an abuse of emergency powers. This is a major victory for Jamaican rights, rule of law, and accountability. How did you feel living under all those SEOs? Did it feel like safety or control? So, will the Holness administration back off, or are we one crisis away from SEO reloaded? If you want more Jamaican political deep dives, drama, and expert breakdowns, hit that subscribe button like it's a government budget deadline. This court ruling was for the people. Hit that like if you value your rights. So let's hear where PNP Party President and Opposition Leader Mark Golding have to say in his statement. Listen up.
Today's landmark ruling by the Supreme Court of Jamaica is a resounding victory for the Constitution, for the rule of law, and for the people of Jamaica. The court has affirmed what the PNP has long argued, that the multiple and extended use of states of emergency as a routine crime-fighting tool is a violation of the Constitution's extraordinary emergency powers. The government's unprecedented declaration of 24 states of emergency over the period 2018 through 2023 represented a sustained abuse of an extraordinary executive power under the Constitution and a dangerous erosion of the rights and freedoms of the Jamaican people. The SOE, which is the Constitution's last resort mechanism against crises that threaten to subvert the democratic order of the state, was unlawfully deployed by the government as a tool of routine policing, often incorporating entire parishes and sometimes being renewed without parliamentary oversight. It is significant that recent statistics reveal a marked decline in murder rates, which has been accomplished by targeted law enforcement measures without recurring states of emergency.
So the court said that the Governor General's rolling proclamations violated the separation of powers. So let me break down and explain to you what that actually means. What does violated the separation of powers mean in this context? So the separation of powers is a foundational principle in Jamaica's constitution. It says that the powers of government must be divided among three independent branches. 1. The executive, the prime minister and cabinet. They must implement laws and manage the country. 2. The legislature, the parliament. They debate and pass laws. 3. The judiciary. The courts, they interpret laws and ensure justice. Each branch has its own powers and must not overstep into another's territory. So what happened with the SEOs between 2018 and 2023? The Holness administration, the executive, used the Governor General to roll out repeated SEOs across various parishes without getting proper approval from Parliament, the legislature. Even worse, he kept renewing these SEOs, which are supposed to last just 14 days unless Parliament approves more, by issuing back-to-back proclamations almost like looping a loophole. The court said, hey yo, you can't do that. They ruled that these rolling proclamations were a workaround that 1. Cut Parliament out of the process, meaning the legislature. 2. Gave the executive too much unchecked power, meaning the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. They are the executive. 3. Violated the Constitution because decisions that affect people's rights and freedoms, like detaining citizens without charge, require parliamentary oversight. That's the violation of separation of powers. The executive Holness Government acted like it could use emergency powers whenever it wanted without the legislature, Parliament signing off, essentially hijacking powers that were not theirs to use alone. Why is this a big deal? Because if one branch of government can just do what it wants without checks and balances, then democracy breaks down. That's why Mark Golding and the PNP took the matter to court, and the court agreed it was unconstitutional. Too long didn't read. The Holness government kept declaring states of emergencies without properly involving Parliament. That bypassed the constitutional safeguards and let the executive act like it had unlimited power, violating the separation of powers principle that protects Jamaica's democracy. Agree or disagree, SEOs were necessary to fight crime. Let's hear both sides. So basically where all of this I say is the PM illegally used the SEO in the wrong way. So what he did was constitutionally illegal, and that's what made it unconstitutional, because the purpose of states of public emergencies is to be used, or it was designed for, true emergencies, real life emergencies like a national crisis or a civil war, which the crime rate, you can't consider that a national crisis. In a reach national crisis level, then let me put it away there. So how he went about using that state of emergency between 2018 to 2023, where him bypass the Parliament and go straight to the Governor General, because guess what? If him bring it to Parliament and the opposition decides say, yo, we not sign off on that, you see me? He basically I go end up in a roadblock. So him bypass the process because he no want deal with the opposition. So he go to the source, because the Governor General is actually the most important part of all of this. That's why he could have bypassed the Parliament. Because even if he get the approval of the Parliament, he still going to require the signature of the Governor General. So why not just say to hell with Parliament and go straight to the man? Because at the end of the day, the Governor General not only have executive powers, this man have reserved powers that goes beyond his executive powers. A lot of people don't know this, but the Governor General is actually way more powerful than the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister can just sign off on the state of emergency on his own. No, there has to be a formal letter sent to the Governor General outlining why you think you need to implement this state of emergency. So because the way how the PM did continuously use the state of emergency in our illegal, unconstitutional way, that's where he breached our human rights and freedom, because he might use it or misuse it in a way that it was never designed to use. He end up use states of public emergency in our wrong way. And it seems we have a prime minister where don't afraid to do things where unconstitutional, which is something to pay attention to, because that is never a good sign. That is never a good look. Disregarding people's rights and freedom, you can't take that lightly. So I guess Jamaica was secretly under dictatorship level powers for 5 years under those state of emergency. That's what it actually means. So the state of emergency was never meant to be used for everyday crime fighting, police work, or strategy. That's not the true intent and purpose of states of public emergency, or SEO, and never that he make far. Was this an abuse of power on the Prime Minister's part? So is this a case where the ends justify the means? So in other words, no matter how you go about fighting crime, as long as the job gets done and the crime rate go down and you get the desired results, even if using said SEO does not equate to lower crime rates or as an effective crime strategy. So if I was detained and arrested under any of these states of public emergency that took place between 2018 and 2023, I now have a legal case against the government, where now I can actually sue the government for illegally detaining me and arresting me for breaching my fundamental rights and freedom. If you watched all the way to the end, reply with "Rights Matter." Let's see how many of us stand for justice.